Going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. You can see I'm wearing the same shirt again today. Sometimes I'm slumming it when I'm home and I don't leave the house for, let's see, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's now day 3 of not even going outside. I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled to be able to just slum it for a few days and not leave the house, especially after riding 155 miles on my bike in 3 days and working 8-hour shifts of hard labor. Feels good. Sometimes I just crash out. I'm getting stuff done here at the house. It's nice because every day I've been home since Monday, I can look around and the place looks better each day than it did ever because I've been here this is day 27 of me living here. I do have to go out and get some sun today. I've got to go to the bank. I've got to potentially do something else, but either way I've got to go 10 miles on the bike. It's not a big deal, not the end of the world, but it's looking like all right, yeah, it's looking like I'm just going to the bank so far, and if anything else comes up, unless, well, this time I'm going to the bank in person. It's the closest branch of this bank to where I live. I've never been there before, so it'll be kind of exploratory. I might even go check out how to get on the bicycle trail from here in the best way, but it really isn't the best way for me to go to get to the bank. So I don't know. I mean, if I just sit here and look at, well, it actually does tell me the best way to go would be to get on the bicycle trail, and it's already given me some bullshit information as far as I'm aware, which is good to know. Yeah. Yeah, no, there's so the way that, okay, so this is what Google does. Google Maps. I'll show you. So this is what I would be looking at if I go the way that Google Maps tells me to go to get to the bicycle trail that it's telling me to take. This is what I'm going to come across where I'm supposed to get on the bike trail. And that's on Google Street View. So that's why you cannot listen to them when it comes to directions. I mean, how many people have you heard stories of they followed Google Maps while they were driving in their car and drove right off a fucking cliff, or drove through a construction barrier or something because they were just blindly following the map? It's 100 times worse on a bicycle when you're looking for their bicycling directions. Sometimes when you're cycling, it's better to take the car directions that they give you and just check the buttons that says no highways and no tolls. So that, because if you avoid highways and avoid tolls, you're going to avoid interstates where you're not allowed to ride your bicycle legally. But you'll be on the fastest roads. The fastest roads for the car will be the fastest roads for the bicycle. They just might not be the most pleasant way to go, and they might not be the safest way to go. So when Google has an option for choosing a bicycle or walking directions. And so they try to modify the route, however you pronounce it, to give you an opportunity to take a better path that's going to be more pleasant to walk, more safe, etc. But I'm telling you, here in Houston, every single time, without exception, every single time I have ever chose the Google cycling route, programmed the route into my phone so that I can follow it on the bike, every single time without fail, the first time I take a route like that they're giving me, something happens where I get blocked, or something, they tell me to turn someplace and there's nowhere to turn. They tell me to go this way to get on the bike trail, and I already looked into this. That's why I knew as soon as I saw the map that it generated in front of me. I'm like, wait a minute, I know when I get to that specific spot, I am not going to be able to go that way because there's no trail there. Now, if I got to that gate, yeah, I could climb over the gate. I could pick up my bicycle, put it over the gate, climb over the gate, get on my bike, and there is somewhat of a trail there. I can see there's a Google Street View of the bicycle trail at that same junction. So I can see that I would be able to go through that stretch, but it might be muddy. It's not paved. It might totally suck. So I am going to not listen to that and just go down to the end of my street to get on the same bike trail. Or there might be another place to access the bike trail, even here. Okay, so now there's another place that it's telling me to access the bike trail from, and I'm just doing this live while I... There's another place that's telling me to access the bike trail from, and it's another... I don't want to say it's a complete dead end here on Google Earth, but it definitely doesn't look friendly. Like, and the map is fighting me. Like, it doesn't want... Like, I can see where the... Come on, Google, you fucking retard. Like, it flat out refuses to let me even modify the route to where I need to put it in order to be able to get on the trail. No, they're like, no, you must go this way. You must go this way. They make this shit a pain in the ass. Like, Google will argue with you and refuses to let you... It does this when you ride your bike too. If you're using like the live driving directions when you're on your bike, it will sit there and fucking argue with you while you're biking and tell you, no, you must go this way. You must go this way. You must go this way. You must go all the way down here and turn around and come back. It's crazy, the level of idiotic shit this map system does. But, okay. But I do see, okay, how many miles does that make it? Oh, wow, 7 miles. So, if I take the bicycle trail to go to the bank, it'll be a 7-mile ride each way. If I close that out and just do the driving directions with the 7 miles, it says, let's just say car. No, yeah, I guess, yeah, that works. 5.4 miles, or 5.5 or 7 miles. So it's an extra 1.5 miles each way, 3 extra miles if I take the scenic route. So that can, mile and a half. I could easily say that taking the bicycle trail to come home, like if I take the most possible bicycle trail route to get home from work the next time I do it, I might increase the distance that I ride by 4 or 5 miles. $27 miles instead of 22. There's no way for me to really like sit here and map that out. Not while I'm talking to you guys, that would be ridiculous. But sometimes adding the extra distance with the tranquility that comes with it is worth it. I just won't do this all the time, but I think it's actually pretty neat that I could conceivably put a route together where between my house and the bakery, out of 27 miles, there might be 3 miles on roads. And the rest of it, and 3 miles on roads, and really only 2 miles of it on a road that sucks, where I'm gonna get, angry drivers harassing me and shit like that. There's this one stretch that you won't be able to avoid. The rest of it, even the roads and streets, are pretty chill, aside from this one stretch I would have to take. The only drawback is I truly feel that the bicycle paths through the Spring Creek Greenway is it's a proper bike trail. It's, there might be a couple of blind turns, but they're not ridiculous. The bicycle trails that go through the woodlands are fucking ridiculously dangerous, because to make it fancy so that rich people think they're going out for a walk in the woods, and they truly make the path windy and stupid to make it fancy for rich assholes. There's no other explanation at all, because instead of the path going relatively straight, it goes like this, and it just makes a bunch of twists and turns, and it makes absolutely no sense. There's no reason for it to make a bunch of twists and turns. Other than they might have to cut down some trees to make the path go straight, but they purposely make it wind around trees, and it goes. It's like you'll be following a road that goes straight. All the bicycle paths in the woodlands are parallel to a main road, but the bike path is off to the side behind trees, so there's foliage between you and the road. And so it's just this fancy rich asshole neighborhood where they try to pretend that they live out in the woods, but they really don't, because they leave enough trees around that it makes you feel like you're out in the woods. But when you look at it from above, you're not. It's a lie. It's fake. It's as fake as it's just as much a real woods as Space Mountain is a real mountain in Florida. It's just a bunch of fucking fake bullshit. They use real trees, but it's a bunch of fake bullshit. I think it's interesting in terms of a concept. I think it's definitely less boring than your average suburbs. But it's fake, just as fake as the people that live there. So, but the problem with the bicycle trails through the woodlands is it's more dangerous than riding on the road, in my opinion, because people get on these electric bikes and they go flying down these trails in the woodlands. You think about it, it's suburbia, a bunch of rich suburban assholes on a windy ass bike trail through the woods, through their pretend forest, and all these rich assholes now have electric e-bikes. And so they go ripping down these trails 45 miles an hour, blind turns. And what else do rich assholes do? I've told you about this on bicycle trails. Rich assholes don't give a fuck. The people in the suburbs don't give a shit what side of the trail they ride on. They take up the whole trail. They don't give a fuck about anybody else. So these people go bombing down these trails 45, 50 miles an hour on their e-bikes, and I'm gonna go around a blind turn, and even if I'm on the right side of the road, the right side of the trail, some asshole on an e-bike is gonna plow right into me head on. It's almost happened. I could say it's almost happened 5 times where I'm going down the bike trail and some asshole on an e-bike almost plows right into me head on. So that is the number one thought when I'm about to get on one of these bike trails in the woodlands. That is the thing that stops me from doing it. That and the speed. Because I can get on the road and get from point A to B in, let's say, the first stretch, the woodlands stretch of my ride home is a half hour on the road. If I take the bike trail, you could say that's 40 minutes to 45 minutes on the bike trail. The same stretch from point A to B on the roads takes 10, 15 minutes less time because I'm going 25 miles an hour most of the way, 20 to 25 through that stretch. It's pretty easy to keep a good high speed through there, especially on my way home for whatever reason. With a tailwind and the right conditions, for sure. With a headwind, there's one stretch that I get caught up on and it slows me down a little bit. But with a tailwind or no wind at all, it's fast. When it's a real strong headwind on my way home, sometimes that talks me into going through the woods because like I'm gonna be slow anyway because of the wind. May as well go through the woods and enjoy the scenery. But the thought that crosses my head every time I get on those woodlands bicycle trails is, how long is it going to be before I finally make that head-on collision with one of these suburban douchebags on their e-bike going 50 miles an hour? I'd rather get hit by a car. I feel like I would get hurt less getting hit by a car than getting smacked into by an e-bike crashing into me at 50 miles an hour. And then when this piece of shit from the suburbs going 50 miles an hour, like what happens when one of these douchebags on the e-bike going down the woodlands bicycle trail 50 miles an hour around every blind turn crashes into a fucking double stroller by some suburban soccer mom who's raising her 2 little soccer babies, plows into that fucking baby carriage and kills the 2 little babies. Like I guarantee you this is gonna happen. I guarantee you. You were just a matter of months, 2 years max. You're gonna read in the news someone on an e-bike plowed over a couple of babies. They were twin soccer babies in the woodlands, killed by a guy on an e-bike, and then nobody's gonna be able to ride an e-bike anymore. Because nobody gives a fuck if they kill a kid in the ghetto, but you kill 2 precious soccer babies in the woodlands with a crying soccer mom who lost her 2 little babies to an e-bike, that shit's gonna be national news, and that'll be the one. It'll be right here in the woodlands. Someone's gonna crash into a pair of soccer babies, kill them on an e-bike, and that's going to be what Congress in Washington, D.C. is going to drop everything that they're doing, and they'll make a new anti-e-bike law, and it'll be named after the soccer babies that got killed. We'll just leave it at that. I don't know their names. I'm trying to think of what they would be named. I'm at a loss right now, and I don't want to. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But that that is my prediction for sometime in the next 2 years. 2 soccer babies are going to get plowed over by an e-bike on the Woodlands bicycle trail, and that will be the one that gets the attention of Congress, and they start passing e-bike laws across the country to basically, like they've done with the drones. You got to get an e-bike license, you got to get e-bike insurance. It'll be just like having a fucking motorcycle at that point. You won't be able to ride your e-bike on any bicycle trail or sidewalk. You're not allowed to ride your bicycle on the sidewalk, but these aren't sidewalks. These are rich people jogging paths, is what I would call them. But anyway, let's see. But you know, I don't even know where to go next. Okay, so we're talking about Star Wars occasionally here, and before I even do that, let's talk about Jesus. Today is June 26th. I haven't even read today's Jesus Calling yet. I'm just going to do it live in front of you guys, but you'll see it a week later or whatever, whenever it shows up, so who cares? Let's see what Jesus has to say to me today through Sarah Young, who wrote this book. Stay calmly conscious of me today, no matter what. Remember that I go before you as well as with you into the day. Nothing takes me by surprise. I will not allow circumstances to overwhelm you so long as you look to me. I will help you cope with whatever the moment presents. Collaborating with me brings blessings that far outweigh your troubles. Awareness of my presence contains joy that can endure all eventualities. So, all I can think of, the first thing that comes to my mind when I read this is, I hope I don't have any trouble today. I could use a trouble-free day, to be honest, but he says that he will not allow my circumstances to overwhelm me. I could use a day where I'm not overwhelmed, that's for sure. I've had a couple. Tuesday and Wednesday were very chill. Here in the new house, honestly, the biggest stress that I've dealt with are just seeing dead bugs show up. I see 1, 2, 3 that I've got to sweep up. It's nice knowing that when I see them, they're dead. So this stuff is working. But it bothers me to wonder how many are still alive. Like, what the fuck's going on inside these walls? But as long as I don't see them crawling around, I'm at a level of peace with it that's better than if I see things. And spiders, my goodness. I did see 2 little tiny spiders climbing on the door, inside the door. And I could see that they came in through the gap in the doorway, between the door and the door jamb. So, that was something I noticed on day 1, was that gap in the door jamb. And I was like, a freaking snake could probably, like a certain kind of snake could probably get in through that. Because I just think about the giant snake that got into my house back in Amish country. I opened up the sliding door to the sunroom and there was this huge snake, in just laying on the, I didn't see it because it was right behind the floor strip of the door. And as soon as I opened the door, the thing was like into the house. And I'm like, shit. And then it went right up under the cabinets in the kitchen, like found a little gap there and just whoop, went right up into disappeared under the cabinets. And I'm like, what the fuck do I do now? And we're sitting there wondering, like, oh, looks like we got to demo the whole kitchen now. Because that's the only way you're getting at this fucking thing. There's no way to get into where this thing got. And we're just sitting there. And every now and then it would stick its head out and stick its tongue out at us and then put its head back in. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So I was sitting there with a blow dart gun, and I'm accurate with this thing. We had a blow dart range in the house at the end of this really long hallway where you could stand at one end of the house, and the target was a dartboard, regular, like a cork dart, like an old school, like a real dartboard at the opposite end. And we had a pair of pliers hung on a hook next to the wall because these things would get buried so deep into the dartboard you'd need pliers to get them out. And I could hit 50s all day long from the other end of the house with that dart. I got so good with the blow dart gun, I'm hitting 50, 50, 50. I was getting to the point where I could hit my darts. I could pierce the tip, the plastic, I don't know what you call it, the opposite end of the dart. You got the pointy end, and then you got this plastic fin on the back. And I could hit the darts with the next dart. And those things can be super... So I'm sitting there, I hit a mouse once with it. I was like, watch this. Whew! Mouse is like, ah! I fucking nailed it. I not only nailed the mouse, I pinned it to the wall behind it. And the thing was just like this. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought, bitch. That's what you get for coming in this fucking house. And everybody's fucking laughing their ass off. I was like, fuck it. The thing was right next to me. There's a mouse over there. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Watch this. And then there wasn't a mouse. So I was waiting for this fucking snake to stick its head out from under the cabinet. The next time I'm sitting there like this, just waiting and waiting and waiting. As soon as that head pops out, it's over. It's over for you. Because the thing would have went through its neck or its head, and then he wouldn't have been able to get his head back in the cabinet, and I could have got up there with something and pulled him right out of the fucking wall. And I was like, that's the best solution I could come up with for what to do about this fucking snake that came in the house. And then we're like, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, maybe if I just let him live in the house, he'll deal with the fucking if there's a mouse, won't have to deal with those anymore. I'll just have to deal with having a big snake running. It was a black rat snake, so they probably would have loved. The mice would show up every now and then in waves, certain times of the year. It was a fucking pain in the ass, this house. That's one thing. If you live out in the woods, man, if you live in a place where you're surrounded by the woods, the amount of shit you're going to have to deal with in terms of creatures of the earth, you're going to feel like you live on Noah's Ark, because you're going to see every fucking kind of animal you can imagine. I used to just sit in the sunroom and work all day. Easily, I could rattle off a dozen animals that I saw today. One time I'm sitting there, I don't even know where they came from. I never saw them before or since. A mother duck walked right in front of my window with about 20 little ducklings and just went waddling across my yard into the neighbor's yard and off into the woods. And I'm like, I know there's a creek back there, so obviously there could be a duck. But I never saw a duck at this place before. I lived there forever, 6 years. I never saw a fucking duck. All of a sudden, I'm watching a mama duck and all her little baby ducks walking across my yard. And I'm like, where the fuck did you come from? An albino deer. I'm looking out in my yard one day. I'm like, is that a fucking goat? And I'm like, wait a minute, that's a fucking deer. That's a deer. They didn't have horns yet. Or it. If it was a female or a male, if it was a male, it was the time of year where they don't have their horns. There's an albino deer out in my yard, pure white. But, they're skittish. I couldn't get a photo of it because as soon as I stood up in the sunroom, it saw me and was like, boof, off into the woods it goes, and it was over. I didn't even have my phone with me. I was going to go try and grab a good camera to take a photo of it. That wasn't happening. When we moved into the house, There was a bird's nest right outside the kitchen window, just like that. A window just like that next to the sink. Right outside the window, a bird's nest with a whole bunch of eggs in it, and parents, mama sitting on the eggs. Me and my son watched the eggs hatch. And then we watched every day we watched the baby birds grow up, and then we watched the baby birds leave the nest one day. We were sitting there watching it, and then we saw the stray cat pounce. When soon as the baby birds hit the ground, there was a cat right there waiting for them, and I'm like, well, circle of life. That's the circle of life right there. But I mean, that's all we did was watch nature out these windows. And I don't even know why I started talking about that, other than you live out. Yeah, that's the only problem I have in this new place right now is nature. Parts of nature that I don't want to see. And but there are sprays that you can spray in your house. One's called Alpine WSG. And that shit's no joke. It's doing its job. I just wish that, oh my goodness, if I have to drill holes in the walls and put stuff in the walls to make this problem go away for good, that's gonna take time. But I don't know. I understand why the exterminator who came to my house back in Amish country when I had the wasp nest inside the wall, to where you could hear it. It was just, it sounded just like a loud refrigerator or something like that. When you walk into this room, that's all you'd hear is buzzing coming from the wall, and you put your ear up to the wall and you're like, oh my God, what's going on in there? Well, the guy he sent over to my house seemed like the best way to describe the guy was he probably would have grown up to be a serial killer, but he found his passion was served by being an exterminator and getting rid of pests from houses. And so he, instead of going to prison, he drives around in a nice pickup truck and he makes a living. So, but he gets to do what he loves. And that's what matters. So, I don't know, man. At least we don't live in the Star Wars universe, because some of these bugs in Star Wars are, it's so weird. Every episode of Star Wars almost has some big giant creature that could completely destroy the planet if it was real. If we had creatures like that, creatures that make elephants look tiny, right? Crazy stuff. Because I was watching some more Star Wars last night. That's what I've been doing when it's time to chill for the night. Just watching it straight through. I don't know, let's see where I'm at. Because each of the episodes of the Clone Wars are 20 minutes. So if I can watch it for about an hour to an hour and a half. So that's 3, 4. I could watch maybe 4 or 5 episodes in a night, but they're 20 minutes long. So they're not that. Last night I made a bunch of cheeseburgers. I did. It was crazy. Oh my God, they were the best cheeseburgers. I think these were the best cheeseburgers I've had since I got out of prison, and the beef that I used wasn't even that great. It was the bulk 5-pound beef pack from Walmart. It was probably 5 pounds of beef that were mixed together from 2,000 cows. There's probably 2,000 cows in that 5 pound of beef, all mixed and mashed up together. I wasn't feeling good about it when I take the beef when I buy it and I make it into patties and I weigh it all out into patties so that I can just make cheeseburgers whenever I want. And if I need, I want to make spaghetti, I need a pound of ground beef. I know it takes 4 of the quarter-pound patties. Boom, I got my pound of beef. So I made I had to use up these buns. I made some burgers. Oh, I wasn't even supposed to eat them all. And I did because they were so fucking good. They were so good. I'm getting it down. I got the burger. I'm back to burger mode. I can make the burgers on my cast iron pan perfect. I mean, the only better way to do a burger is to grill it. I'd much rather have a grilled burger. But when I do them on the cast iron pan, I use the bacon press and I just smash. I do like a smash burger style, but I don't make them super thin like a smash burger. I just smash them down so that they're going to be about the same size as the bun that I'm putting them on. I would rather have a little bit of the burger sticking out of the bun than have the burger shrink up when you cook it and then have a whole bunch of, like a circle of bread around a big round patty that isn't flat anymore. I'm not the only, they tell you don't smash your burgers when you cook them, don't press them, because you're getting rid of all the juices and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, don't do it when you're cooking burgers on a grill. Flatten them out before you put them on the grill. Keep in mind that they'll shrink up a little bit, but just flip them a couple times when you're putting them on the grill. When you're cooking them in a pan, it's different. They're gonna sit there and marinate in their own grease while you're cooking them. In fact, when you cook a couple of the burgers that I cooked yesterday, I had to do one at a time because I couldn't do them two at a time in the pan. And so I just smash them way down. After a couple of them, you got to dump the grease out, or it just gets ridiculous, the amount, and it messes up the burgers. And so, yeah, just smash them down. Mash them down when you get them in the frying pan, the cast iron pan, and then let them sit for a minute or two on one side. Give it a flip, let it sit. When it just starts to feel a little bit firm in the middle, you can feel it with the spatula when they're getting ready to be done. If it's real soft and mushy, they're not done yet. As soon as they start to have a little bit of firmness, throw your cheese on and then let the cheese melt. And by the time the cheese melts, the burger's perfect. Throw that on a bun, you're good to go. These came out fantastic. I cooked a whole pack of bacon. I got a whole bunch of leftover bacon in the fridge, ready to go. Not as good as the last round of bacon, but not my fault. It was just the way that the bacon slices in this pack weren't cut properly. So some were super thin and some were really thick. They weren't consistent. But it didn't matter. They came out fine. I can cook it just fine. But just the quality of the bacon itself wasn't as good as the previous pack I cooked. That had something to do with ordering my groceries online, because when I pick out a pack of bacon, I'm looking at that shit, and I'm looking at how much fat versus meat there is, like the stripes, and I'm looking at bacon might be like a real thick slab going across. Like, I always buy bacon like one slab that's cut. I don't like to buy the flat packs where they're kind of on an, I don't know, they're stacked up different. The thin sliced bacon. I like to get like where you can see it's an actual slab. It came from the same pig and it's all just cut, pre-cut. And I always look for the one that's perfectly rectangular, because sometimes you get ones that have like a dip in them. And that messes up the bacon a little bit, when it's got that little dip in the slab. I don't know how else to explain it without showing you, but if I'm seeing it in person, that's why, those are the reasons why I'm not a big fan of the grocery delivery, because I'd rather pick out shit myself, because I can look at all the packs of bacon and pick out the best one. Same thing with the lemons. I didn't get the best lemons. Nothing I got was bad. And the convenience of not having to go to the grocery store was well worth it. That gave me a lot more energy. So, whatever. But going back, so I made a bunch of cheeseburgers last night. I know I'm just kind of rambling about random shit like I normally do here, but I've made cheeseburgers at about 7 o'clock last night, and 7:30 I was like, all right, I'm done working. I'm gonna go sit and watch some Star Wars and just veg out. I've been falling asleep 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, getting up at about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. It's different now that I've got natural light coming through the windows. It's waking me up earlier in the morning. When I was living in the tool shed with the windows covered, that place was pitch black at noon if you turn the lights off. A lot of you were pointing out how depressing that looked, and it was. The whole thing was, I'm way better off here mentally. The natural light does so much. I do want to get the curtains for the bedroom. I have 2 curtain rods and 2 curtains. I have a shopping cart queued up on Amazon. All I got to do is hit the buy button, but I want to go to the bank first, get that money put in the bank, and when that money's available, I just got to do the math again. I got to make sure I can pay my rent and everything, but I should be good to go. I should be fine to buy the curtains. So at least in the bedroom, I can have curtains covering both windows. They're the right length. It'll only be 2 holes to drill with, wall anchors and screws for the curtain rods. The curtain rods that I've chose they might be a pain in the ass, but once I get them in, once I get everything hung up, I don't even know. The one thing I am worried about a little bit is, are these curtains going to come in some folded pack to where I need an iron to press them? Because I don't have a fucking iron. So when the curtains show up, I might hang them up anyway, but I might have to get a fucking iron and an ironing board just to iron my curtains, and get those pressed and make them look nice. So they don't look like wrinkled shit curtains like I had in the tool shed. Just another random thing that I don't have that most 49-year-old people would have. That's something you would have bought sometime between when you were 18 years old and 49. You would have an iron and an ironing board somewhere. But when you're 49 years old and starting your life completely over, you don't have that stuff. So, but I don't wear clothes. I purposely don't wear anything that needs an iron, because I have some nice shirts. I have them in a pile. I have a stack of nice button-up shirts, that short sleeve and long sleeve, if I needed to look nicer to do something. But I would need to iron those shirts, and I don't have that. I don't have a steamer or an iron, so I'm screwed if that comes into play. If I got that job in downtown Houston where I'd have to show up and look nice on a regular basis, I'd have an iron right now. I would go in looking better than my coworkers, but I would try to get away with wearing jeans. I would just wear nice jeans and nice button-up shirts. I would want to be comfortable, but I wouldn't want to look like a slob, is the way I'd put it. So I have watched 50 out of the 419 things in Star Wars that are on this list. I'm surprised that I've watched that many things, 50 things. But if you think about it, you can watch 5 20-minute things, and that's 100 minutes, which is about an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half. So you can watch 5 things in a night in the time it takes to watch a movie. So, and I think Sunday, when I was vegetating, I was taking a lot of breaks this past Sunday because I just didn't have any energy, and all I did all day was fold clothes and organize my clothes, and got one of my storage boxes put away because I'm down to 2 boxes of stuff that I still need to sort through and figure out what to do with before I'm completely unpacked. I never even unpacked a lot of these boxes when I lived in the tool shed. I just put them up in that storage loft and never looked at them again. When I moved in there, I would open up the box and I would say, yeah, I generally don't need what's in here, and I'd shut the box, put it up in the... I just kind of made sure that there was nothing in those boxes I wanted to have out and about. But now I have no storage space, so it kind of forces me to figure out what to do with everything. And I think it's going to be down to, when I'm done, there will be 2 storage totes that have things in them being stored, and everything else I own will be on those shelves, organized in some fashion. And so, but now I'm kind of like, I'm trying to juggle lots of different things at once. So, you know, I'm just adding it to the list of things that I do when I'm taking a break from my sitting in front of my computer work. So back to Star Wars here. You know, life's lessons from Star Wars. Last night I was watching an episode of the Clone Wars, and it said the first step to correcting a mistake is patience. And you know, I've never been a patient person my entire life. I admit that. I have more patience now when I'm 49 years old than I ever have in my life, but I'm not a patient person. I want things, I want to get it done. I go to Chick-fil-A for breakfast before I go to the bakery, because it's right there. It's in the same parking lot. And it's one of the only places that I can get something to eat before I go in. It's either eat a 1,000-calorie sugar bomb for breakfast or get some protein. And I'd rather have the protein, even though it's fast food. Chick-fil-A, I don't understand the whole obsession with Chick-fil-A. It's like, it's not much different than going to fucking McDonald's and getting a McChicken sandwich. In fact, the McChicken sandwich has more stuff on it. You get Chick-fil-A, you get what, 2 pieces of bread, a piece of chicken, and a pickle. A little pickle on. Like, what the, I don't get it. I don't get the whole fucking, I don't get why people line up around the block for that fucking shit. It's not that good. I can make a better chicken patty here at home. Get the right chicken patties. I can make my own chicken patties that would beat the shit out of that. I could make a fried chicken that would annihilate Chick-fil-A. Jesus, oh my God! I can make a chicken fried chicken steak that's going to be, it's gonna make the Colonel roll over in his grave. Like, it'll make the Colonel's secret recipe seem like trash. So anyway, the first step to correcting a mistake is patience. So I made a mistake. I said a bunch of dumb shit on Twitter. So dumb that it put me in prison for fucking saying words. I didn't think you could go to prison for saying words. I didn't think that was even a thing. Nobody goes to prison because they said words. They said things. Well, that's a thing. Turns out that's an actual thing. It happens. So I made a mistake, and I don't think that, you know, I'm trying to correct that mistake, but I can't expect to be able to correct that mistake overnight. I mean, it's been a year and some change since I got out of prison. It's been 9 months since I stopped being homeless, and it's been February, March, April, May. It's been not even 5 months that I've had my own place in one form or another, whether it was living in that tool shed with a toilet in the middle of it, or living in an actual somewhat of a house. So, I mean, to expect myself to have fully come back. I know that I've got a commenter who's mad at me for grifting, and I forgot. I'm 46 minutes into the video and I didn't do my grift yet. So this guy is all pissed off at me because I've told you that, hey, you can go to donate.litgood.com if you like what I'm doing here, and you can contribute to make it possible for me to keep doing these videos and make a living doing that instead of having an actual job, because I'm just a grifter, and that's what I would rather do with I'd rather just make a living getting you guys to pay for it. What the fuck would I want to work for? I forgot to do that, but I don't even know. I'm gonna have to rewind the video and see what the hell I was saying. Now I remember. I was about to say, this guy who's accusing me of being a grifter, because I'm always telling you to go to donate.litgood.com or shop.litgood.com if you want to support this channel, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he was telling me that I should have got my charity off the ground by now, because I kept talking about how I want to fix up bicycles and donate them to the homeless. So, because I think that's the best way. It saved me. I have a 40-mile radius from where I live, that if I have to go somewhere and come back on the same day, I can ride my bike and I mean, it's 80 miles. That's not a picnic. But I have a 40-mile travel radius under my own power. I don't need to buy gas, etc., etc. Now, do I expect that a homeless guy is going to be able to ride his bike 80 miles a day? No. But to go 5 miles, I got to go 5 miles, give or take, to go to the fucking bank today. That's nothing. That's going to take 20 minutes each way. Once I get off my ass and do it, that's like, I'm going to say I'm going to need about 2 to 3 hours today, 2 hours to do that, and 3 hours if I'm just going slow and don't care. I'm thinking about I'm just going to take the bicycle trail to go the 7-mile version. Why not? Let's just kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Check out the bike trail, see how it all connects here where I live. See if there's a quicker way, a better place to get on and off the trail. See something I haven't seen before, and avoid traffic or whatever. And just see what just check it out. And so that's my plan for today. But yeah, this guy, I've been in my own place for less than 5 months, whether you count the tool shed and this new place, whatever. I was living at my friend's place for however many months. I was homeless before that. But now that I'm on my own for 5 months, this fucking asshole's bitching at me in the comment section that I haven't even seen you donate any bikes to the homeless yet, you fucking asshole. Like, what the fuck, dude? I've been living on my own for 5 months, making barely enough money to survive. I don't have a car yet, but I'm supposed to have a charity up and running right now, and I still don't even know how I would go pick up the bicycles if people wanted to even donate bicycles to the homeless, have me come and get them and fix them up and hand them to the homeless. What am I supposed to do? Make some sort of fucking strap out of rope, go pick up the fucking bicycle, put it up on my back, and then ride my bicycle home while I'm carrying another bicycle on my back? What the fuck? Take the wheels off, put it all together, bundle it up, and then strap it to my back. I don't fucking know. Like when Chewbacca was carrying around C-3PO on his back, just get like that same cargo net thing that he had where he just put all of the pieces of C-3PO in the bag, and he's got the arms and the legs just sticking out of the bag, and his head's just kind of going like this. Oh dear, what's going on, right? And yeah, like I could just take all the parts off the bike and just throw them in a fucking cargo bag like that, like Chewbacca, and ride home with a bicycle strapped to my back. Yeah, sounds like a great fucking plan. Sounds like a great fucking plan. And I don't even have the tools to fix my own bikes yet. I ran into at least 2 tools last time I did bicycle maintenance day that I'm missing, and I don't even have the tools to use the wrong tool for the job. I tried. I'm like, I got cone wrenches that are thin that I might be able to fit one of those in there and do the adjustment that I need, but nope, I didn't have the right size. So now I'm looking at like, do I get the actual brake wrench? Or do I get a set of thin wrenches that have that size? And there's pros and cons to both, because the brake wrenches actually have some little hooks on them so that like the really cheap bikes like the Huffies and stuff that don't have the adjustment, the thing for the adjustment to center the brakes, where they got these little hooks where you can hook them into the eyelets on the springs and then use the wrench to center the brakes on the rim. So like, that wrench is like $10. The set of wrenches, the thin wrenches that would have multiple purposes, the set that I'm looking at that has all the sizes with no gaps is like $30. The set that I want, the set that I would rather have, because I ordered them once and I had to send them back because they had gaps. When you buy a set of wrenches, I don't know why the fuck they do this, but a lot of these wrench sets will have gaps. It'll go from like, it'll be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It's like, well, where's the 13 and the 15? They'll just, you don't need those. Well, yeah, I do. If I'm buying a fucking set, I don't want to have like a missing size in the middle. So I have to kind of like research and figure out the set that has all the wrenches without gaps in the sizes. The quality isn't quite as good, but at the same time, what am I going to be using these things for other than an occasional tweak? So I probably don't need, top quality. I don't need snap-on tools to do this work, but I definitely don't need the wrench to strip out the first time I use it. So it's just like, I'm looking at these things and I'm looking at the bikes. I'm like, I can see 3 things on the Silver Bullet because it's the newer bike. I can see I can't take apart my bottom bracket because I don't have the tool for that. I can't take apart, I don't know, I'm looking at a couple other things that I can't do because I don't have the tool for those things. And I'm not missing a lot. I can't take apart my headsets because I don't have the fork crown race tool. I don't have the headset cup removal tool, and I don't have a headset press. So I can't take apart I couldn't replace the headsets on the bikes if I need to. And granted, that's not something that's common or that I should even have to do the whole time I own these bikes. But if I ran into a situation where I have to replace a headset, I don't have the tools to do it. I don't have frame straightening tools. I don't have a bottom bracket hanger alignment tool. I'm missing a lot of tools. Some of the tools, no, I wouldn't need to fix up bikes. But when you're getting into like having bikes that are coming in, like if people are donating bikes to give to the homeless, they might not be in the best shape and they might need some of these specialty tools. But yeah, I know I've been on my own for 5 months. That's plenty of time to get my shit together and start a charity and start building and donating bicycles to the homeless when I don't even know how I was going to pay rent at the end of this month. But yeah, sorry. But like I said, Star Wars last night, the beginning of the episode, I know I shouldn't be wasting my time watching Star Wars at 8 o'clock at night when I could be donating bikes to the homeless and working, 120 hours doing productive things during the week instead of 70 to 75. But fuck you, I did it anyway. And it said the first step to correcting a mistake is patience. So maybe have some fucking patience and see how this thing turns out. Wow, man, that one really got under my skin. Not that I give a fuck about what anybody thinks about me, But like, I'd like to see that fucking guy do any better. Fall flat on your face, go to prison for 2 years, come back and be homeless for 6 months, and then, you know, live with a friend for 3 or 4 months, and then finally get your own place, and 5 months later, why didn't you start your fucking charity business yet? Why aren't you donating bicycles to the homeless yet, you fucking grifter? Fuck you. So, and I don't even think you're a troll. You know, you're probably a cool dude. I know you've left good comments in the past, but I'm still gonna be like, fuck you for that one. If my best friend in the world had made a comment like that, I would have told him to fuck off. So don't take it personally. I would say that to my best friend's face if he said something like that to me. I'd probably do it with a smile and a laugh, but I would tell him to go fuck off if he did that. But anyway, Star Wars, man, it relates to real life. All the time I'm finding references in Star Wars that go along with what's happening in the world today. And check this out. I just found this the other day. Alright, so here we have it. A broom handle fight in the ghetto lines right up. This could have been a scene in a Star Wars movie right there. We've got a bunch of Jedis living in the ghetto, picked up a bunch of broom handles and are having a lightsaber fight right in the middle of probably Harlem, I guess. I don't know. Somewhere in Manhattan, I don't know. But just like I said, every time you turn around, Star Wars can relate to what's going on in the world today. People love to pick up broom handles and fight with them. I saw it myself. I had to spend about 2 months, it was a month. I think it was a month. I had to spend Thanksgiving, but I was out of there by Christmas. I had to spend Thanksgiving in the same prison where Puff Daddy is living right now. Same building. From what I understand, Puff Daddy's on one of the nicer floors where there's less bullshit going on, but on the floor, in the pod, the unit that I was in, a bunch of 2 rival gangs got a hold of some broom handles, pulled the fucking broom handles off of some brooms, and started running around, chasing each other around, having a fucking lightsaber battle. Started going at it, throwing garbage cans at each other, bashing each other with broom handles, and, you know, just generally trying to beat the shit out of each other. And it got broken up by the guards, and we were all locked down, and we all had to stay in our cells for 5 straight days. A cell that was so small that you could put your hand on one side and touch one wall, reach over with your other hand and touch the other wall with your other hand. Toilet and your fucking sink is right there, and you've got a bunk, and you've got your bunkmate sitting right there with you the whole time. I had to get ibuprofen on the commissary because my back hurt so bad from being locked. Imagine being locked in a fucking broom closet for 5 days straight without even being able to go stretch your legs, without being able to take a fucking shower. But why did it matter? Because when I got to that jail, they gave me 1 pair of underwear, and I had to wear the same pair of underwear every day for a fucking month. If I wanted to wash my underwear, I'd have to wash it while I was taking a shower. There's no hot water in that jail, so I had to take a cold shower, take a bar of soap and wash my fucking underwear, and then hang them up somewhere in my cell to dry while I'm free balling it in my orange jumpsuit. So, but I saw a broom handle fight. And then I got locked in a cell, a broom closet size cell, for 5 straight days without being able to take a shower or anything. My back fell apart. I could barely walk after those 5 days because the only thing, you get a mattress about this thin made out of, you'd be better off sleeping on cardboard than the mattress that they give you to sleep on. Some people in that jail, they don't even give you a mattress. Like, they tried to get away without giving me a mattress, and I was like, the fuck, you aren't gonna give me a mattress. When I got there, they expected me to just sleep on a metal slab with no blanket, no pillow, and no mattress of any kind. Just, fuck you, you fucking piece of shit, get in the cell. And no mattress, no blanket, no pillow, 1 pair of underwear for a month. That's how some people live in that jail. Getting locked in your cell for 5 straight days because a bunch of ghetto thugs were having it out with having lightsaber fights with a broom. It's fucking crazy, man. But I mean, the ghetto broom lightsaber fight, the ghetto broom handle lightsaber fight is not the only thing that you can relate Star Wars to in our world, in our real life. I totally forgot a couple of important points about a couple of other lines that I shared with you in a previous video. I talked about 2 lines that kind of went together. Arrogance diminishes wisdom, and overconfidence is the most dangerous form of carelessness. And I talked about how that related to me in my situation, that I got so arrogant and overconfident to the point where I'm like, I can say whatever the fuck I want. Part of it came about because I'm watching these fucking Democrat pieces of shit running around burning down cities, burning Minneapolis to the ground, destroying Seattle, running around Washington, D.C., trashing parks and destroying monuments and doing all kinds of shit. And nobody ever gets in fucking trouble for it. So I'm like, obviously, I'm not going to get in trouble for saying some fucking words. Well, turns out that's not the case. The guy who said words went to prison for 2 years. The people that burned down the cities, they don't even get a knock on the door. But arrogance diminishes wisdom, and overconfidence is the most dangerous form of carelessness. I was careless and not wise when I did that shit. In spite of how I feel about this crooked piece of shit government and everybody in it, I didn't have to say the things that I said. I could have kept it to myself, or, kept it between me and my friends. Especially in the climate that we're in, where these scumbag Democrats are looking for any reason at all to go after somebody, especially somebody they think is a Trump supporter, and, completely destroy your life over something that's relatively minor. I think saying words on social media is a little bit less of a crime than burning down the city of Minneapolis. I'm just going to go out there and say that. I'm not saying what I did was right, but once again, they made me share, make me share a cell, but I shared a cell with a guy who killed somebody. A guy killed somebody and got 14 months in jail. And I said words, and I got 2 years in prison for saying words. So you can't fucking tell me that that's fair. You can't. Don't fucking try, because it's not, and it's not. It's fucking bullshit, is what it is. We're just gonna leave it at that. There's nobody in the fucking world that can say that that was fair in any way, shape, or form. Cut the fucking shit if you think you're gonna go there. But when it comes to Star Wars, these 2 lines, it's something about the biggest thing about Star Wars, the Jedi. The Jedi were arrogant and overconfident. And the whole, once you get into the, all the way from the Acolyte, which is the first thing in Star Wars all the way up until Order 66. The Jedi were so arrogant and overconfident that they couldn't even see the shit that was right in front of their face. That Palpatine was the Sith Lord who was orchestrating the galactic war on both sides. He was their primary enemy. And here the Jedi Council's meeting with Palpatine on a daily basis, talking about what they're going to do to fight the Separatists. And Palpatine's the leader of the fucking Separatists too. Like they're like, Yoda's like, go to this planet and save the people, we must. And, you know, shit like that. And so Palpatine's like, yeah, all right. Tells, you know, Count Dooku, okay, Yoda and the Jedi are coming over to save the people on this planet. Be ready for them, you know. Like these fucking dumbass Jedi, they were dumb. They were fucking stupid. And when you watch the series of the Clone Wars after you've already seen it before in the past, like, you know how sometimes you watch a movie and it's got like, you know, a surprise ending, and it's like, you know, The Sixth Sense at the end, you know, spoiler alert, Bruce Willis and the kid are dead. The whole time, the whole movie, they're dead. But you don't find out that they're dead until the end of the movie. So, surprise, if you haven't seen that one before. But movies like that have some crazy shit, when you get to the end, you're like, oh my God. So maybe you watch the movie again. Sometimes I'll watch a movie like that with somebody to see their reaction at the end, even though I already know how it ends. And so one of the things that you get when you watch a movie, I'm not somebody who really watches a movie over and over again. Star Wars, sure, I can watch that pretty much. I can watch a Star Wars movie anytime. I don't know why. I guess it's just because when I was a little kid, it was my favorite movie. But when you watch something for a second time or another time or whatever, you pick up on things that you didn't notice before, because you're looking at it from a different perspective. When you know that Bruce Willis and the kid are dead the whole movie, now you're watching the movie and you're like, oh yeah, they were telling us the whole time. The whole movie, you can pick up on it. You're like, holy shit, the whole movie, you can totally tell. Yeah, they're totally dead. How did I not see this? And you're watching the movie that had that reveal at the end. The second time, you're like, oh my God, they made it obvious the entire fucking movie, but you didn't get it until the end. And I think that's genius when story writers can do that and movie makers can do that and trick you. And then you watch it again and you're like, how the hell did I not even figure this out? And so, like, when you watch the Clone Wars and you watch the Jedi, they're fucking dumb. Like, they're fucking dumb. They're arrogant, number one. They're arrogant as hell. They think that they're the shit. And they're stupid. They get fooled over and over and over again. All the time. Not just on the grand scale of not realizing that Chancellor Palpatine is the Sith Lord the whole fucking time. But they, you know, not the arrogance of that. That's the big one. And he had, the whole thing was orchestrated, the whole war. The droid army and the clone army, the whole thing was orchestrated to come to a head at the end, that he could, because the droids wouldn't be able to kill the Jedi. The Jedi can just cut down droids all day long. But a clone, an army of clones, you know, the human clones, were smart enough and strong enough to overpower the Jedi, especially when they attacked the Jedi by surprise. And the whole entire war was a whole gamble. The whole thing was orchestrated for him to kill off all the Jedi in one shot. But the reason why it worked was because the Jedi were so fucking arrogant and overconfident. They just thought they were the badasses of the universe. And they were so confident and so arrogant that they couldn't see their own destruction right in front of them the whole time. And now when you watch all of this stuff after you've seen it before, I've seen the Clone Wars series a couple of times. This might be my third time. It's at least my second time seeing it. I think I've seen different episodes of it in the past, but I watched it all the way through once with my son when he was younger. But now that I'm seeing it again, it's like almost every episode, each episode's 20 minutes. And in pretty much every episode, you're like, man, these Jedi are fucking dumb. Man, they're so fucking dumb. How did they not figure that one out? And you're just watching it and you're like, man, because they're just so confident and full of themselves that they make dumb decisions all the fucking time and they fuck shit up all the time. They could have totally stopped this war hundreds of times over and over and over again, and they get duped and fooled over and over again because they're so set in their ways and arrogant and stupid because of their arrogance and overconfidence. They think they're so badass that they can't be fucked with, that they get fooled all the time. And it's a thing. It's a thing. It's a big theme of the Star Wars, and it's kind of like the overconfident religious nut jobs, like when Jesus was walking the earth, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the religious, the elite of the religious Jews at the time thought they were so arrogant and so badass that when the Messiah came that they were waiting for this whole time, they couldn't see it. He was right there in front of them, talking to them, giving sermons, and all they wanted to do was kill him. He's the Messiah they've been waiting for and talking about all this time, and now he's here, and they're like, fuck you, get out of my face. King of the Jews, we'll see who's king of the Jews, and they killed him. They killed him. Like, they were so overconfident and arrogant that when the Messiah came, they didn't believe it, and they had this preconceived idea of what the Messiah would be, and the Messiah was exactly what the Bible's their Bible at the time, the Old Testament, said he would be. He fulfilled all these prophecies in Scripture, and they were like, no, they were threatened by him because they didn't want to believe that this lowly carpenter from Galilee was better than them. And so they killed him because they didn't want to lose their power. They didn't want to have their foothold on power taken away. You know, they were expecting God to come down on a mighty horse with a bolt of lightning in his hand and slaughter their enemies. They weren't expecting somebody kind and somebody come down to heal the sick and raise people from the dead and do all these good things. Saying things like, if somebody slaps you in the face, turn the other cheek, and all that kind of stuff. They were expecting a warrior, a king. And so, but it was their arrogance. He's right there. There's the Messiah. You're the luckiest people that ever lived on the face of the earth because the Messiah came to you. You got to meet him face to face and see him. You got to shake hands with him and touch him, and he's right there. Like, where we are right now, we only get to read about him. I don't get to meet Jesus. Maybe when I die, or maybe when he does come back. I mean, I might still be alive. I mean, we're almost there. I mean, we can't be that far away from the end of this world. The way people are fucking this world up, this can't go on too much longer. How much longer can this fucking go on the way things are right now? I don't know. But I don't know, man. Star Wars, it relates to real life all the time. But I don't know. Sometimes it gets annoying. Like Yoda. I like Yoda, and his words of wisdom in some of the movies are really good. But in the Clone War series, Yoda sucks. He's basically got like one or two lines in every episode, and it's always the same line. It's so predictable. Like, he'll just be like, they'll be talking about, all the Jedi will be talking about what they're gonna do, and then they'll be like, okay, yeah, we gotta send the clones to this planet. We gotta rescue the people, and Yoda will just blurt in and be like, "Send the clone army to the planet we will. Save the people we must." And it's like, yeah, dude, that's what everybody just said. Why do you gotta repeat? Why you gotta repeat everything in your weird ass way of talking? But he never actually drops words of wisdom in the Clone Wars series. It's always just, "Count Dooku will be at this planet. Defeat him. We must." It's like, yeah, we know, dude. That's the whole fucking point of this war. Like, why don't you drop some knowledge once in a while, Yoda? What the fuck? I don't know, man. It gets on my nerves. Every single episode of the Clone Wars. Every single episode. And every single movie. It's like a thing in Star Wars where one of the characters has to always say, "I have a bad feeling about this." It's like a joke. And so every movie, a character, somebody will say at some point, "I have a bad feeling about this," when they're about to go into danger, right? But it gets old. It's like every single episode. It's a 20-minute long episode. And first of all, you're guaranteed to have Yoda say something obvious. "The monster destroying the city it is. Defeat it, we must." Yeah, we know, dude. That's why we're out there fighting it. And then when they go to fight the monster, somebody's gonna say, "I have a bad feeling about this." And it's like, yeah, we know. You always have a bad feeling about it. Just go out and fucking do it, dude. It's getting old. It's getting old. And this is like George Lucas, the Clone Wars, the prequels and the Clone Wars were his baby. They were his that was when George Lucas had full control over Star Wars. The original trilogy, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, George Lucas would have ruined those movies if he had control over them. They were his movies. They were his creation. He wrote them. He wrote the stories. It was his idea. But when he got funded to make Star Wars, especially Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, he had people that were giving him money that they weren't going to let him fuck it up. So people stepped in to stop him from making bad decisions and said, "George, you can't put that in the movie. It's going to bomb. You got to listen to us." Like, George would have made Star Wars wouldn't have been as successful as it was if it weren't for other people who were telling George what not to do. And do this, don't do that. Make it this, don't make it that. You got to have the characters have to have personality. It can't be this dry, boring dialogue the whole time. George Lucas didn't even direct The Empire Strikes Back. Lawrence Kasdan directed that movie, and it's considered to be the best thing in all of Star Wars to this day. George Lucas didn't make that movie. It's his movie, it's his characters and everything, but he didn't direct that movie, and it's considered to be the best one because people reined him in. They're like, "Yeah, George, you got some great ideas, but let us help you not fuck it up." But then George Lucas got too big and too rich with Star Wars, and he wasn't going to get bossed around anymore. So when he made the 3 prequel movies, they were his movies. Like, there was nobody on the planet could step in and tell George Lucas what to do or what not to do, or they could, nobody could go up to George and be like, "Hey, this Jar Jar thing that, you might want to think about toning this thing down. This whole Jar Jar thing it's not gonna go well." George Lucas was like, "Get out of my face. I'll do what I want." That's how it went. There had to be a million people. There had to be at least 24 high-ranking people telling George Lucas, "This Jar Jar character is going to piss people off. It's stupid. It's not funny. And then like all these other things, like the dialogue, Luke or George, it's boring." In all the George Lucas directed movies, each character says a line, then the next character speaks, then the next character speaks, and it's all just dry, boring dialogue. It's drier than the planet of Tatooine. It's just dry, boring talk, dry, boring line, another dry, boring statement, another dry, boring statement. Because George Lucas is just trying to use the dialogue to tell a story instead of using other methods to tell the story. And the characters have no personality at all. They're just dry, boring, drab, soulless characters in the original prequels. And I think part of it is on purpose because he's trying to show how arrogant and how stuffy and how boring and how uptight the Jedi are, and all the politicians and all of that kind of stuff. But when you watch Andor, you're seeing all these same politicians and all that kind of stuff going on, and it's not boring. Characters have emotion. Characters get into fights with each other. They argue and they yell and they make fun of each other, and they do that. The dialogue is no longer boring and pointless and just dry. It's like, but just George Lucas doesn't know how to create dialogue with characters that has personality and soul behind it. That's why the dialogue sucks in all of those movies. That's why Anakin Skywalker's best pickup line is, "I hate sand." You know what I mean? Like, it's boring. It's boring. And so the story, it's cool to get the story, but the Clone Wars series, the animated series, is kind of boring. It's interesting. And actually, the dialogue and the stuff that goes on is actually more interesting than the movies of the Clone Wars, episode 2 and 3. And the Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars series is better than the Anakin Skywalker in the movies. The way that they portrayed him in his... If the guy who played Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars series was in the movies would be better. But I don't know. Some of the things he did on purpose, but he's just he's not good at character development. He's good at special effects. That's what George Lucas's strength was, always the special effects and the design of things and the spaceships and all the stuff in the movie to make it look cool. But the character development was not his wheelhouse. That's why they always had other directors. That's why somebody else directed Empire Strikes Back. George Lucas got more involved or had more say in Return of the Jedi because his franchise had gotten so big that they couldn't stop him from doing dumb things. But I don't even think that Return of the Jedi isn't that bad. But when he did those prequels, they would have been 100 times better if somebody could have stood up to George Lucas and said, "George, don't this Jar Jar thing, get rid of it, or just have it be a small thing. Tone him down. Like, just this guy's a fucking retard. Everybody's gonna hate him." He's like, "No, we got to have something in there for the little kids." Yeah, the original 3 movies that you made had stuff in there for the little kids. Loved Star Wars, C-3PO, R2-D2, all these different things, and the kids loved it. You didn't have to have this annoying fucking jackass ruining the fucking movie so bad. And all the boring, dry dialogue that was just, wow, it was, they're a train wreck when you watch these movies in some ways. Even the actors and actresses that were in the movies don't like them. They talk about that. They like a lot of the newer stuff that like what's his name? The guy who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi, not the original Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I can't remember any of these people's names. I'm brain dead today, but oh my god. I just heard a huge boom outside. It sounded like an explosion. Maybe it was. Ewan McGregor, not Alec Guinness played him originally in the first 3 movies that were made. But Ewan McGregor has played Obi-Wan Kenobi the longest and the most. And Ewan McGregor, I think he enjoyed the Obi-Wan Kenobi series more than filming the prequels, because the prequels were boring, dry dialogue, filmed on a blue screen. The whole entire movie, they're doing all their acting and everything they did on a green set, pretending everything was pretend. And just about all the sets were just blue screen sets. Everything in those movies is almost computer generated, from the backgrounds to just about everything in the movie. There wasn't anything in the movie that was real. And they've moved into doing more real stuff in the movies that they've made in modern times, because people don't like the fakeness where everything is computer animated. But, those movies were groundbreaking at the time they came out. They were groundbreaking in the sense that that was the top of the line computer animation when it came out. I even got a chance to meet one of the animators on Phantom Menace, who he animated the scene where R2-D2 repairs Padme's starship towards the beginning of the movie, before R2-D2 got a medal for fixing the ship when they were being attacked. And he animated a bunch of the battle droids in the Battle of Naboo, when the tanks come out and the things shoot out and drop off the droids, and then the droids in unison start marching and all that. He animated a bunch of the battle droid scenes and stuff like that. He did a bunch of different scenes in that movie. And then I got to take some of his, I was working for a computer training company at the time, and he came to Pittsburgh and taught a bunch of classes, computer animation classes, from our computer training facility. I don't know, my boss, who's still a good friend of mine, the owner of the company, knew him somehow or got in touch with him somehow. I don't know how this connection was made, but this guy came to Pittsburgh and taught a bunch of classes. So I got to meet him and get to know him a little bit one-on-one, talk to him outside of the classes, because he was there for an entire week. And I kept in touch with him a little bit for, maybe some months after he left. I still follow him on LinkedIn. He's moved way on and doing lots of different things now, but I'm not even going to say his name, but I got to sit and take his classes. I got to learn all kinds of crazy stuff one-on-one with the guy who helped George Lucas animate one of the Star Wars movies. So I learned how they do it from the guy who did it. And that was a real interesting experience. And I think some of the things that I learned from that helped me in the future when it came to some of the things I've done since. I used to do some 3D product animation and modeling for like online demos. And so I was using a tool called Maya, and I used a lot of the techniques that he taught me to composite I used a lot of the techniques that he taught me in that class to put these animations together, because people thought it should be done a certain way, and I'm like, no, I don't know how to explain it in layman's terms, but everybody thought they had to get everything perfect in the 3D modeling software itself and render out a perfect render from Maya. And my technique was more like this guy's technique, where you get the base render, and then you render this other part, and then you do this other part, and then you composite them together. And I did it in Photoshop, but you could do it in Premiere or After Effects, where you layer these things on top of each other and use blending modes to create a full render. So I had to do this product animation where you had to be able to rotate the product 360 degrees by dragging and moving your mouse across the screen to see the front and the back and turn it up and down and side to side. And you had to be able to see what was on the screen. And so the first render was just the product, and then I made the screen a certain color so that it could be isolated and basically removed from the render and have a hole going through it. And so it was just the product itself and all the right lighting and everything, but I did have like shine on the screen itself because it had a layer of glass over the screen, and I wanted it to look realistic and with the lighting and everything. So then I did a render where it was just the stuff on the screen. And what I did was created an animation, or took screenshots of the actual software that it runs and kind of going through all the software. And basically, like, I did a screen recording of someone using the thing and going through the software and doing different things. And then I took that screen recording and mapped it to the object in this 3D modeling software and rendered it so that when you turn the thing, the stuff on the screen is all moving and doing what it's supposed to do as you spin the device. And I rendered out all those frames, and I just combined them in Photoshop instead of trying to do all of that stuff in the 3D software. And so I just like, that's how they do it. At the time, they would, for like the battle droids, instead of trying to make the animation perfect in the animation software, they would render just like the basic lighting of the droid, but then to get like all the dust and scratches and dirt on the droid, they would render a completely different shot. Same droid in the same positions and everything, but it would just be the dirt and dust and scratches and gouges and all the dirt and scratches and the surface irregularities on, so that they didn't look like they were perfect. And so they would render all of these things separate from each other. They'd have a render that just was the reflections off of anything glass. So it would really just be nothing but white streaks here and there. But when you line all these things up in Premiere or Photoshop, or you layer them on top of each other in a tool like Photoshop, you can blend them together so that you get this perfect looking render of a droid moving around, but the droid has scratches and gouges and imperfections on its frame, but you didn't have to get it perfect in this. So what it saved time on is you get the droid, you get the movement and everything, and it looks absolutely like it's a brand new pristine droid that's never been used before. You get that rendered out and done. And instead of having to tweak and tinker in the 3D modeling software to where you have to render this thing every time you want to see what you did to see if it worked, you got to render out the whole thing again. And then you got to render it out again. Oh, you got to make a little change, render it again. Every time you render the scene, you could go to lunch. You could walk away for 3 or 4 hours while this thing renders out. So instead, they just rendered out parts of it where everything's in the position it needs to be, but they rendered out the robot, get it good enough. Then they render out, okay, cover the robot in dust and scratches and gouges and things like that. And there's a way to do that, and then render that out so that all you see in the render are the gouges and scratches. You don't see anything else. And then in the next one, all the complicated reflections off windows and things like that, glass and things like that. And so instead of having to tweak something and render the thing, tweak it and render the thing, and over again, you render things that are quicker to render, and they're not perfect, but you use another tool that makes it easier to combine all that shit together, and then you can mess around with the lighting, and there's different things you can do. And it makes the whole process faster, and the end result looks 100 times better. So, and this is back in like the 1990s, mid 1990s, when the technology was primitive. Obviously things have come a lot farther since, because like in a video game scenario, you do have to have everything rendering in real time. You can't use the same techniques with a video game that you can with the way that the Star Wars movies were made in the mid 90s. because everything has to be rendered in real time as the person's playing the game. So the technology has come a lot farther, but it was really a cool experience to actually be able to sit and be taught a whole different way of thinking about computer animation by the guy who was doing it for George Lucas at the time. And so I've just had all these crazy experiences in my life that are just random and weird, and that's the way things go when when you're in tune with the universe, I guess, and you follow the path of synchronicity and you kind of go the way that your gut tells you to go. You play the long game, you don't worry about the short game. All those kinds of things just kind of fall into place. And so I'm sure there's going to be tons of things like that happening here in Houston, more than they already have. I already have experiences that are in that line of, synchronicity and weird stuff happening, but I'm sure at some point here in the near future I'll have another story like that about just a chance encounter with some random person that, like meeting the guy at the park who walks his dog, and all of a sudden having freelance business and clients that came out all because of that. And so I'm sure I'm about to go through some more of that, because when things are going down the right path, that's the kind of stuff that happens. Synchronicity, and when God's got a plan for you, he'll kind of just make things randomly come together and work out for that plan, whether you're looking for it or not. And usually it's when you're not looking for it when they show up. So that's my video for today. I'm just gonna say peace out. I got stuff to do. I gotta get to the bank. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna fit everything into my day today. I don't want to leave the house, but I have to go to the bank. So make the best of it. It's a bright sunny day, and it's better to do it on a bright sunny day than when it's raining. So I'll say peace out. We'll talk again.